Recording.
As it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be at the end of days when the waters came down. And break of the never they chose. Giants were born from them, the mighty men of old, men of old. And the giants rolled their oppressing them, eating all of the land. And when the food was gone, they cannibalized the women and men. Babies and children were not exempt. There was weeping throughout the land. Don't you know they'll be coming back again at the end of days? Take warning, for the time is now. The morning are here, and soon to be released on an unsuspecting world. As it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be at the end of days when the waters came down and break our women who never laid shows. Giants were born from them, the mighty men of old, men of old. Do not take the mark of the beast, or you shall be tortured there and died before the Lamb. They have no rest at all. They worship the beast, these women and men. Of God's poetry, they are keeping up with command. Don't you know our King's coming back again at the end of the age? Take courage, for the time is now. It's time to watch and pray, and hope that we might be coming today. Take courage, for the time is now.
All right, shalom everyone. This is Brother Doug. That was my sister Shoshana singing As the Days of Noah, and that's going to be a perfect song for us today. Going to transition into this part 2 of the study, Where Are We Now? in end times prophecy, biblical prophecy. So we're going to start with some verses from the days of Noah in this part 2. I'm going to start us off with Genesis chapter 6, verse 1 to 4. That's going to deal with the first time we see what was happening in the days of Noah. And I would say there was a little bit more going on that deserved a flood than just regular sin. Okay, so let's see here. Because usually Christian church will say, oh, it was just sin. That's why the flood came. No, there was something else. It says here, and I'm going to be reading from the Septuagint here. It says, and it came to pass when men began to be numerous upon the earth, and daughters were born to them. So daughters of Adam, daughters of mankind, okay, that the sons of Yahuwah, okay, this is not human men, having seen the daughters of men, that they were beautiful, took to themselves wives of all whom they chose. And in the Septuagint will actually say the angels of Yahuwah. The majority of the time where you have that phrase, B'nai Ha-Elohim, it will usually be the angels of Elohim, the angels of Yahuwah. So, and then it says, and Yahuwah Elohim said, my spirit shall certainly not remain among these men, these particular men, forever, for they are flesh, but their days shall be 120 years. So, okay, something happened here. The years of mankind in general has dropped to 120 years. Okay, so there had to be a specific sin that would make Yahuwah do that. And the verse before says that you have the sons of Yahuwah, the angels of Yahuwah, going into the daughters of mankind. So that caused Yahuwah to send the flood. And as we get more context, it says, now the giants were upon the earth in those days, and after that, when the sons of Yahuwah, the angels of Yahuwah, were wont to go into the daughters of men. They bore children to them. Those were the giants of old, the men of renown. And so, and then it goes on to say, Yahuwah Elohim, having seen that the wicked actions of men were multiplied upon the earth, that everyone in his heart was intently brooding, thinking over evil, okay, continually, meaning no happy thoughts, no pure thoughts, completely wicked because of what was going on. The hybridization was turning men into monsters, pretty much. They were committing bestiality and possibly combining animals with one another to corrupt the animals, as the book of Jasher says and the book of Jubilees say. Okay, so that's the reason for the flood. And that's just one cross-reference we have, what the days of Noah are that Yahusha talks about. Here's another one here. Daniel chapter 2, verse 43. This is going to be an end times second or third incursion of it. So Genesis 6, verse 4, technically is going to happen again in the end times in the form of metal and clay combining. It says, whereas you saw the iron mixed with the earthenware is just a fancy old British term for clay, they shall be mingled with the seed of men. So what does it say in Genesis 6:4? That they went into daughters of men, mingled with the seed of men. But they shall not...
In my translation, let me give you my translation. It's just a little bit different. It says, they are mixing themselves with the seed of men, but they are not clinging to each other, even as iron does not mix with clay.
Mm-hmm.
So they're mixing themselves with the seed of men.
Yep, so you have a seed that's not the seed of men mixing with the seed of men. So you have two different kinds mixing with one another, as Genesis 6:4. So Shoshana is showing that the ISR 1998 or Hallelujah Scriptures has it a little bit simpler, a little bit easier to understand. Again, earthenware is just a fancy old British term for clay, so that's the main difference. Mingled is a sexual term in this context. So when it says mingled with the seed of men, it's talking about basically, intercourse. It's basically saying. And it says it will not cleave to one another, because when a man leaves his father, in Genesis it says, for this cause a man will leave his father and his mother and cleave to his wife. So that's why the Septuagint uses cleave in this verse, because it's showing a marriage term. So it's showing basically, even though the iron and the clay, the seed of men, and not the seed of men and the seed of men come together, they mingle with one another. Sexually, they do not cleave to one another as a man would with his wife. So they're going to be, basically at war with one another. And so that was Daniel chapter 2, verse 43. And then my last two I have here. Okay, so Matthew chapter 24, verse 29. This is where Yahushua exactly says, as the days of Noah were. So now we know what the days of Noah are, and now we can put that Old Testament context into this verse to understand what he's saying. And let me just get this correctly, what verse this is. Here we go. Matthew 24, verse 37. My bad, it's not verse 29, it's verse 37. But as the days of Noah were, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. So basically, he's trying to give you an idea of when exactly he's what it's going to be like on this earth as it's getting to the time of his return. So you're going to see a lot of hybridization. You're going to see a kingdom that's half human and half iron metal or another seed. So there's going to be the fourth beast. Daniel is actually a mixed kingdom. So we're going to continue here. And so the last one I wanted to point out about the days of Noah, to pinpoint where we are in prophecy, Jude 1:6 is the last one that talks about what happened in the days of Noah, which lets you know that the sons of Yahuwah in Genesis 6:4 are not humans. Because what does it say in Jude 1:6? And the angels which kept not their first estate, not sons of Seth, and the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation. And I just want to mention here, if you look in the Thayer's Greek lexicon, habitation, that Greek word is okaterion, which means a metaphorical house. So it's referring to our bodies are a okaterion for the set-apart spirit. So when he's talking about habitation, he's not talking about like a physical house.
Right.
He's actually talking about their bodies. So it probably would have been better translated as lefting their own bodies or own metaphorical house. He has reserved in everlasting chains under the darkness unto the judgment of the great day. So possibly we might see this again. Genesis 6:4, Jude 1:6. We might be seeing this in some way, shape, or form, or possibly it will be more instead of intercourse, it will be transhumanism. So there's two ways you can really take Daniel chapter 2, verse 43 and how the days of Noah will return. But I would say that a third incursion is definitely going to be happening either way, whether it's transhumanism by technology or there's going to be another incursion of the Watchers. Either way.
Well, Dennis and I have seen on YouTube, there was a group of women being interviewed that had claimed to have given birth to the seeds of Satan. And one of them was Queen Elizabeth's daughter. So you don't know how much of this is true, but they sounded quite sincere, didn't they, Dennis? I guess Dennis doesn't want to contribute. But
oh, he's muted right now. Let me unmute him. Go ahead, Dennis. Do you have anything to add? Heck? I just unmuted him. Dennis, you got anything to add?
Yeah. I was wondering why I didn't get any response. Yeah, I remember watching that too. Yeah.
Yeah. And did they not seem plausible to you?
Oh, yeah.
Like, I didn't feel like any of the women were lying. I felt like they were sincere and repentant. They wanted to put that part of their lives behind them.
Yeah, like they were being just used and they didn't have any control.
They were totally being used.
I'll find out later.
Yeah, I just am wondering who that was.
I did see that in an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie that he did a while ago called End of Days. They had that concept that Satan would possess a man, like, demonically possess a man to basically have the anti-Messiah by going into a human woman. So that idea was actually put in a Hollywood movie. So,
Well, no, this was not a man. They were having sex with demons and they knew it.
oh wow, okay. And that's pretty interesting. But let's see here. We're going to be going to the abomination of desolation here, which is the next phase here that is going to precede Jacob's trouble. So right before the tribulation, also known as Jacob's trouble. The first one I have that we're going to go to is the first time it's really referenced is in Daniel. Let's start Daniel 9:27 actually. And a lot of people misunderstand this verse because of the way it's translated in the Masoretic text. It's translated very funny in the Masoretic text, but if you actually use the Septuagint here, I'll show you how simply it's put, and you can figure out who is actually causing the sacrifices to cease. It says, Daniel chapter 9, verse 27, and 1 week shall establish the covenant with many, the peace covenant between Israel and Palestine. That's what I believe it's talking about. And a peace treaty, not just with them two, with the whole world. So this guy is going to establish a peace treaty with the world. And it says, and in the midst of the week, my sacrifice and drink offering shall be taken away. So in the middle of that prophetic week, which my sister Shoshana has let me know, according to scripture, a prophetic week is 7 years, and it's halfway through the 7-year period. So that's where we get the 3.5 year tribulation.
Yeah.
That's
that.
that's all right. Not a big deal. And on the temple shall be the abomination of desolations. This is where any Christians that are listening to this is how you know it's not talking about Yahushua here. He did not take away the sacrifice and take away the Levitical priesthood permanently, okay? Did he cause the abomination of desolations, or does the anti-Messiah cause it? You should be asking yourself
The anti-Messiah. I don't think anybody could believe Yahushua would cause this. It's definitely the anti-Messiah that's doing this, and he comes in and sets up the abomination of desolation, and then he stops all the offerings.
Mm-hmm.
And this whole new temple that they're building over in Jerusalem is not for our Father and His Son. It's not for Yahuwah or Yahusha. It's being built under the directives of the Pope. So what does that tell you? And it's for the anti-Messiah and his false prophet, which I believe is the Pope. So, but I know that the Pope is the one who's financed it quite a bit.
And so, yeah, I agree with Sister Shoshana. Francis is definitely If he's not the false prophet, I'll put it this way. He's really trying hard to convince us that he is. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
And at the end of time, an end shall be put to the desolation. So meaning that at the end of time, meaning at the end of the age, it will be, or at the end of this specific time, like in the end times, the desolation shall be over. So the next one we're going to go to.
3.5 years.
Mm-hmm. So
So after 3.5 years, he puts the abomination up. In 3.5 more years, it's over.
Yeah. Thank you for the clarity. That actually helped. Yeah, so I was trying to figure out that myself. All right, so Daniel 11:35 references this again. So Daniel references it a second time with a little bit more context here. And it's Daniel 11:35 all the way to 40. I actually started, I think, verse 31 actually. All right, so let's see here. We got, and seeds shall spring up out of him, meaning people from his lineage, seeds. And they shall profane the set-apart place of strength. Now, when this was happening in the book of Maccabees, this was Antiochus Epiphanes, historically speaking, the Greek emperor. So there were seeds coming out of him, like other kings that came from his lineage, possibly, that would be fulfilling this. And they shall remove the perpetual sacrifice and make the abomination desolate. Again, abomination.
My Daniel 11:35 doesn't say that.
Oh, I said I was going to start at verse 31.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, my bad about that. Yeah, so I started just now at verse 31. So it says that seeds, meaning he's going to have sons, descendants come up out of him. They will profane the set-apart place. So they're going to profane the temple of Yahuwah in Jerusalem. And back then it was Antiochus Epiphanes doing that. And whatever seeds sprout out of him. And make the abomination desolate. And the transgressors shall bring about a covenant by deceitful ways. Okay, so this covenant is going to come about by deceit.
Yes.
But a people knowing their Elohim shall prevail and do valiantly. So this is talking about the set-apart ones, commonly mistranslated in your English Bibles as the saints, quote-unquote. Mm-hmm. The intelligent of the people shall understand much, yet they shall fall by the sword, meaning some of the set-apart ones are going to fall by the sword, by the anti-Messiah, and by flame, and by captivity, and by spoil of many days. And when they are weak, they shall be helped with a little help, but many shall attach themselves to them with treachery. So there's going to be fake allies attaching themselves.
Join them by flatteries is how mine puts it.
Mm-hmm.
Which gives you a little bit a better perspective, I think, on what they're doing. Yeah,
so they're flattering. Treachery would be like they're saying they're really with them, but they're betraying them at the same time. They're deceiving them. So yeah, flatteries, treachery. I think flatteries is a little bit better there. And some of them that understand shall fall to try them as with fire. So all this is happening for Yahuwah to test these believers, okay? That's why he's allowing this to happen. It says to try them as with fire, and to test them, and that they may be manifested at the time of the end. For the matter is yet for a set time. Mm-hmm. And he shall do according to his will. Here we go. Here's the anti-Messiah here. He shall do according to his will, and the king shall exalt and magnify himself against every deity, and shall speak great swelling words, and shall prosper until the indignation shall be accomplished, for it is coming to an end. And so there's a connection between him and possibly the false prophet here, because the false prophet's going to do the same thing in Daniel chapter 7, verse 25. It says, and he shall speak words against the Most High, and shall wear out the set-apart ones of the Most High. So again, where we get that in Daniel 11, that some of them will fall by the sword. That's the context here in Daniel 7. 25.
Mine says in verse 36, the sovereign shall do as he pleases and exalt himself and show himself to be great above every mighty one and speak incredible matters against the El of mighty ones, against Yahuwah himself. Speak against Yahuwah and shall prosper until the wrath has been accomplished, for what has been decreed shall be done.
Yep.
And this man shall have no regard for the mighty ones of his fathers, nor for the desire of women, nor have regard for any mighty one, but exalt himself above them all. But in his place he shall give esteem to a mighty one of strongholds. That would be the God of forces, which Yahusha, I don't mean Yahusha, Hashatan has been called the God of forces or fortunes. And this is what it's saying here. He will give esteem to this God of forces or fortunes, and to a mighty one which his fathers did not know, he shall give esteem with gold and silver, and with precious stones and costly gifts. And I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, that's okay. I was just curious. I was trying to look up the original Hebrew word for forces here to see what this is actually referring to. Because so many different translations translate so differently almost in every translation in that word. So I was just looking that up. So let me see here. Why is my program acting stupid right now? Now it's freezing. What the heck is going on here? Let's see here. Come on, eSword, really? And now eSword's being stupid for some stupid reason. All right, let me try opening it up. Sorry, audience. I don't know why my eSword's doing that. Usually doesn't do that. All right, so I'm reopening it right now. We were at Daniel 11:36. Shoshana just read from, and so let's see. So yeah, so basically he's going to exalt himself against every mighty one, every deity, every Elohim. And it talks about he does not regard the affection of women. So this is how the Christian understanding that he's a homosexual basically comes about. Why a lot of Christian preachers will say, yeah, Obama's the Antichrist and this and that, and then it comes along.
He's more of a chauvinist pig where he just doesn't care for the opinions of any woman.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's probably just it could be many things. It could be that, it could be he's obstinate, just doesn't want to have a wife or want to have a woman, he wants to stay obstinate. But so he praises a mighty one that he gives gifts of gold and silver to. That pretty much gives it away, in my opinion. That is Satan. When it talks about the mighty one of forces, and it says he will honor him with gold and silver. In Ezekiel 28, Satan had gold on him. He was adorned with gold. So, yeah. So anyway, but I wanted to go back to Daniel 7:25 because it gives a little bit more context to this and what happens with some of the set apart ones. And it says, and it speaks words against the Most High, which I believe Constantine has fulfilled part of this. Antiochus Epiphanes has fulfilled part of this verse. And he shall speak words against the Most High, meaning Yahuwah, and shall wear out the set apart ones of the Most High. So talking about him prevailing against some of them in Daniel 11. And shall think to change times, appointed times, I should say there, Moedim, the Hebrew word there, I believe it should be, and law. And power shall be given into his hand for a time, times, and half a time. Again, 3.5 years. So this is another.
Don't forget that the times and laws that he's trying to change are not worldly times and laws. They're Yahuwah's times and laws.
Mhm.
like the 7th-day Sabbath every week on Saturday, and other things that he's going to try to change that are set up for all time.
Exactly, yeah. Trying to change Yahuwah's law, trying to change the Torah. So now we're going to go to the Apocalypse of Isaiah here. And my bad, I opened the wrong document here. Yeah. So we're going to go, not the Ascension of Isaiah. Chapter 4, verses 2 to 10. So we're going to go there. And I have it up here on my browser. So here we go. I'm going to go to chapter 4, verses 2 to 10 of the Ascension of Isaiah. This is an extra biblical book. So here we go. And let me try to see if I can try to see if I can copy and paste it over here. It's very small on that other browser. Let me see here. There we go. All right. I don't know why my share screen keeps messing up. It keeps doing that pause. All right. Here we go. Here we go. Verse 2. And it says, "And it is consummated, Beliar," which they, for some reason in this extra biblical book, they call Satan Beliar. "The great ruler, the king of this world, will descend, who has ruled it since it came into being," meaning as soon as the fall happened. He was given rulership because Adam listened to him. "Yea, he will descend from his firmament," the firmament, "in the likeness of a man." Maybe that's where that movie End of Days got that idea from. "A lawless king, the slayer of his mother, who himself even this king." So I would say, I think this is giving a hint that it's definitely Nimrod who's the anti-Messiah, because there's been rumors that his mother killed him, but I think more of him killing his mother really is what really happened. And his mother was actually his wife also. They had an adulterous, ancestral relationship to have their son Tammuz. That's basically how the story goes. And it says, "This ruler in the form of that king will come, and there will come with him all the powers of this world," meaning Ephesians 6:12. The powers in wicked, in the powers in the heavenlies, the wicked powers, the principalities. "They will hearken unto him in all that he desires. And at his word the sun will rise at night, and he will make the moon to appear at the 6th hour." So this is talking about the crazy miracles that Yahusha refers to, that false prophets and false messiahs will do this, but the anti-messiah is going to do something that they can't even do. "And all that he has done, and all that he has desired, he will do in the world. He will do and speak like the beloved." Oh, my bad. I missed this verse here. "And he will make the moon appear at the 6th hour." So that's something that basically no human being should be able to do, no mortal man. So he's doing stuff that people would think, oh, he must be the Almighty for doing these things. And all that he has desired, he will do in the world. He will do and speak like the beloved. The beloved is a title that refers to Yahusha in this book that was wrote pretty much a couple thousand years before he even came to earth. So this talks about Yahusha before he even came to earth. "And he will say, I am Yahuwah," or "I am Elohim, and before me there has been none," which is a direct blasphemous statement, because that's exactly what Yahuwah says in Isaiah 45, and we'll show you that.
So that's the abomination saying that?
No, that's Nimrod being possessed by Satan. He's actually being possessed by Satan, and Satan is giving him powers. Like, you know how in Revelations it says the dragon gave authority to the beast to do these miracles and stuff. That's basically what's happening. And the Ascension of Isaiah is talking about this before the 66 books were even written. Before some of these 66 books were even written, it's talking about this. Definitely before the New Testament. So this is written thousands and thousands of years before the New Testament. and saying that he will declare basically to be the Almighty, and none has been before him, which is direct blasphemy, because that's what Isaiah 45, Yahuwah says that in Isaiah 45. So he's directly committing blasphemy by saying that. And all the people in the world will believe in him, and they will sacrifice to him. So that's where you get the sacrifices from in Daniel 9. And they will serve him, saying, this is Yahuwah, and besides him there is no other. And they, greater number of those who shall have been associated together in order to receive the beloved, so meaning believers, the elect, will turn aside after him. Some of the elect will actually be deceived, which is showing the true context, in my opinion, of what Yahusha said. Some of them can be deceived. So,
it does say that.
and there will be the power of his miracles in every city and region, and he will set up his image of the beast, before him in every city. So it is a physical third temple, and it is literally an image.
We need to be very, very careful because this is coming, and we have to be watching and praying at all times that we are not deceived, because even as the elect, we can be deceived by this man and what he's about to do. So just remember that, keep it in the back of your mind, because it's not going to be a piece of cake. You just have to remember that the first one that comes is not the Messiah, it is the anti-Messiah. He may look and call himself Yahusha, Messiah, but he is not. And we have to be so careful that we do not succumb to his words, because he will be a very charismatic person that will sway millions of people. Just don't be one of them. Remember, if the word says keep the Sabbath, keep the Sabbath. If the word says keep the feast days, you keep the feast days on the days that Yahuwah say you're to keep them. And don't let him change them on you. This is very important.
Yeah. Yeah, perfect. I think that was very important and pertinent to what we're reading. So, all right. So we are gonna ending part 2 right now of that. We will be starting part 3. We will be coming right back, our viewers and listeners. So we will be ending the verses we have on the abomination of desolation in part 3, and we will be finishing the study with Jacob's trouble. Please stay tuned. We're going to be right back immediately. Thank you for joining us today, for everyone that has joined us. Shalom.
Shalom.
Oh.
Andy?
All right.
Are you